next for Virgil Ortiz? Where should Team Virgil Ortiz train at next? Last Friday, they announced that Virgil Ortiz Jr. will no longer be training with Robert Garcia. So, what's the move? What's the next move? Who should she train with? We saw earlier in his Instagram on social media that he was training with Manny Robles in Los Angeles. What are other possible moves? Freddie Roach, Virgil Hunter, Eddie Reynoso. Who else could he train with? I know people he can't train with. Can't train with Derek James because that's a potential future opponent in Errol Spence. So that wouldn't be a possible opportunity. Wouldn't suggest him training with Danny Garcia either. Another possibility future opponent. Could he train with Abel Sanchez? Tons of trainers out there, but Reynoso to work on that defense. Yeah, he could train on that defense. So far, he's been kind of a fighter that his offense is his defense. His high work rate is so explosive that he doesn't give his opponents time to think, and they're getting hit with barrages of punches. So, but he's getting hit. He got hit with something that we've never seen him get hit before. In that fight with Igis Kavalaskas. And that's what Robert said, JC. Robert said that based on how they were talking, it sounded like they would go on their own. And yeah, his dad's trained him since the age of 5. Hector Beltran has been with them. Hector Beltran has been with them since the early amateurs. So they've always been part of his pro career. He did 9 fights with Antonio and Joel Diaz, 9 fights with Robert Garcia. There's tons of rumors out there, but we don't want to speculate. We'll let things unfold. But clearly they posted a picture on their IG of being in there with Manny Robles. Okay, so besides the main reason, which not being there for his fight, and being there for Franco in Tulsa, Oklahoma, there was a topic of sparring being an issue. So what can be the issue with sparring? And this is all speculation. Yeah, I visit the gym and I don't film sparring. It's something I've never done. But what was wrong with the sparring? That's a question that if I ran into Virgil, I'd ask him. Was it the quality? Was it the quantity? What was going on? What was going on with that sparring? Because I'll say we don't have anything to go off on that. So, but I will say this: in a previous interview with Virgil, and he said it on his live, so I guess that's public information. He said that the reason they left Antonio and Joel was he didn't look like himself in the ring, like he trained his son to look like his entire career. So that's interesting. That's interesting. I have not gone and asked for more details on that. But that would be the follow-up question if I were to run into Virgil Sr. and say, what did he look like before? And because I'm not an expert, you know, my eye only sees certain things, but trained eyes see different things. But what did he look like when you were training him? And what did he look like when he was fighting those first 9 fights with Joel? What did he look like when he was with Robert? And what do you want him to look like in the future? So there's a chance I might make it out to the Jaime Munguia fight tonight. It's an hour and a half drive from where I live. It's a Golden Boy fight card. Virgil's a Golden Boy fighter. If he's out there, pop out my phone and ask him some questions if I have the opportunity. I do not see it. If they go and do one fight on their own, I would not be opposed to that, right? They've had when he was with Robert, there was a total of 3 fights that Robert was not in the corner. There was one fight in January of 2019. He was with Josecito in New York. Robert was with Josecito New York. Pita, Virgil Sr. and Hector managed that fight in the corner. They also did a fight when Robert tested positive for COVID. They're in Indio that they did on their own. That time it was without Pita. That time it was just Virgil Sr. and Hector. And the cutman was the general, or just somebody that they that promotions that the Golden Boy promotions had hired, because that's how things were happening during COVID. They weren't letting you bring in your own cutman. They were having a cutman that was there for the entire card. All 5 fights for the blue, and all in a different cutman, all 5, 6 fights for the red corner. Um, but I wouldn't, depending on the opponent. Actually, nah. They can fly on their own. I don't want them to fly on their own in the future, because a third set of eyes and somebody just focused on bringing in sparring partners would be ideal. But that's all I got for now. It's an interesting topic where they might land. Virgil Hunter, Freddie Roach, Abel Sanchez. Definitely not Derek James. Definitely not Danny Garcia Sr. Definitely not Keith Thurman's team. Any possible future opponents, not Jerron Boots Ennis team. None of those guys. Anybody other than that, I'd run it. It'd be an open. Uh, Eddie Reynoso did make Canelo a counterpuncher, so if that's the goal, to tighten up his defense and make him a counterpuncher, that'd be quite a match. Now the problem that arises there in San Diego is they'd have to be very organized and not have fights on the same dates. Oscar Valdez is there, Julio Cesar Martinez is there, Ryan is there, which is another Golden Boy fighter. Canelo has his fights. But if they could manage that and not land fight dates on the same, where Andy Ruiz is there, where they would double up on Eddie Reynoso, then that'd be a quite possibility. Jose Ramirez has something in his before joining Team RGBA. He talked to Robert and he said, if there was ever a fight where I had a fight and Mikey had a fight on the same night, well, before I joined your team, he made the clause in the contract where if they ever had a conflict of dates, the Big G would be in Mikey's corner and Robert would go to Jose Ramirez's fight. So shout out to Rick Murigan, who manages now both Jose Ramirez and Virgil Ortiz and a handful of other fighters. I'm here at the beach here in San Diego. I'm here with my son, just hanging out for the day. But a lot of interesting things going on in the world of boxing. Jaime Munguia tonight in Anaheim at the Pond, and in Phoenix, Arizona, Jose Benavidez and David Benavidez as well. So thanks for the support. I'll try to be doing more of these lives more and more. Who do I got? I got my heart, and my heart is with Munguia, but I also want to see Gabe pull it out too. Gabe is a fighter with double-digit losses, and I want him to be the outlier. I want him to succeed. He's got like 13 losses, but I want him to be the outlier. I want to give him everything that I want him. I always go for the underdog. If you know me, I'm always gonna go for the underdog. I always want the guy that isn't favored to win naturally. But I like both. I have nothing against Jaime Munguia. He's from Tijuana. My mom's from Tijuana. So of course I'd be leaning towards that. But if Gabe Rosado win, I wouldn't. I'm biased con los de Tijuana too. Yeah. My mom's from La Colonia Libertad. I grew up there. Grew up going to Tijuana a lot. So, but exactly, Rosado ain't no punk. I like what he stands for. I like that he could potentially pull this off. I like, what he did to Beck was just amazing. Beck the bully. Yeah. So, thanks for being on here, JC. We'll see when we do another one of these lives here at the beach in sunny San Diego. Sonteo Media on Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube. Thanks for the support. Catch you guys later.